What's going on, everybody? It's Professor Gnome, and today we're going to be looking at kind of an interesting deck that we played against in a recent video, and that's going to be Articuno with the attack Wild Freeze, which does 70 damage, but when it attacks, it does 50 damage to itself, and the opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. That's not an incredible attack on its own, but why it is important is that we're going to be comboing it with Munkidori, since what we can do is if we have Munkidori out, we can move the damage counters off of our Articuno to whatever we want, and because we're keeping the active Pokemon paralyzed, it means that they're not going to be able to switch it out. So if they can't move their active, we can continue to keep it locked there and move all the damage counters around with the Munkidori onto their bench and kind of just slowly burn them out of the game. And we can also utilize things like Palkia VSTAR to not only use its Star Portal ability in order to power up the Articuno if we need to, but it also functions as a good backup attacker since we want our bench fill anyway, so we can actually use it to take kind of higher HP knockouts later on in the game if we need to, or in a clutch situation we can even use it to power up our Radiant Greninja, though that's kind of a secondary option. And what we can do though is use it to power up our Greninja and steal some knockouts if we have to. Speaking of stealing knockouts, we're also running one Bloodmoon Ursaluna EX since it is a phenomenal comeback tool. It's pretty easy to just kind of slap down and, you know, take that final prize card if we have to. In terms of supporters and everything like that we run, we have the counter catcher because we want to make sure that we're selecting what's in that active as much as possible. That's the same reason we're running the Prime Catcher. Again, we want to be the person choosing what's in the active so that way we can keep it trapped there. Since we're not always looking for whatever we're going to knock out in the active, really we're just looking to utilize Articuno, keep something trapped there for as long as possible, and disrupt their strategy. Another way that we're going to do this is also by running 2 copies of Boss's Orders, but I also run a copy of Erika's Invitation since it's just another way in order to get something, trap it in the active, move our Articuno in if we have to, and go from there, especially to if we know they're looking to add certain cards into their hand or whatever, we can kind of manipulate the game in that way. We're also running Temple of Sinnoh just to help stop anything that could, in whatever world, 1, it's good into the Lugia matchup, but also 2, if they're running any form of special energy that could heal them or, you know, manipulate our effects, we want to be able to shut those off as well. We also run the EXP share. We put that on Articuno, making sure that we always have one that's powered up, so that way even if something happens and we get knocked out, we have an option to pivot. We run the Devolution just to help set up knockouts later on in the game as we spread around the prize cards. And yeah, that's pretty much all the important stuff that we need to discuss over about the deck, so that's going to be the general breakdown. Definitely let me know anything you would change to the list. I haven't played, not that I haven't played, but I haven't seen a lot of lists for this set that are relatively different. A lot of the lists are kind of the same-ish, so definitely let me know any alterations or changes that you would make. And yeah, be sure, outside of the deck list though, guys, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Share the video if you know somebody who may find this deck interesting. We're on the road to 1,000 subs. We're very, very close. Last time I looked, we were at 970 something. So we're very close to hitting that 1,000 sub goal. And yeah, it'd be really cool to hit that. Just as I never really thought I would get past 9. So the fact that we're almost at 1,000 is really, really cool. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Be sure to join the community Discord. It's really, really fun. We go over deck lists, you know, general conversation, all that kind of stuff. So be sure to join the community Discord if you're interested, as well as the link for that can be found in the description, as well as the deck list for this video. So if you want to export the list and try it out for yourself, make changes, it's all down in the description below. But yeah, that's it for all my announcements, all that kind of stuff. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in Game 1 in a moment. Peace. Alright, we're into game number 1. We're going to be going first. We'll see what our opponent's playing in a moment. We do open our Articuno alongside a Greninja. We have an Earthen Vessel as well, which is nice for us. It'll give us options to draw off of. We are up against Tinkaton, which is probably not bad for us, honestly. Though, I'm going to be honest here. Ooh, that's fun. Well, at least we know we can trap the Rotom for a little bit. What we can do here is we'll go ahead and conceal cards away the water energy, since we want to be able to Star Portal that later on. We get the Munkidori, so we can slap down the dark energy on that later, but for right now I want to get the water energy so that way I can start attacking on the following turn, and I can Earthen Vessel. We'll get rid of one dark energy for now, grab another one and a water, and then we will pass our turn. So we'll see what they want to go for. Like I said, I want to be able to place down the water energy just so that way I can start getting attacks off and kind of get the play into effect. Since, like I said, the benefit here of like being able to trap the Rotom as of right now is they will need to have a switch card. They will need, which we can assume they probably only play one of, two at best, maybe like one Switch, one Tauros, or like two Switch, one Tauros at best. They also don't have a target that will evolve, so they can't get past the status condition that way. So we're in a pretty good spot overall. We do also see the Erikas, which is nice. We'll go ahead and place this down. Like I said, we can go Irida. And what Irida can do is grab us the Palkia, along with another Nest Ball. We can go Palkia, Nest Ball for another Munkidori. And then from here, we can go Wild Freeze, damaging ourselves, but putting the 70 damage onto the Rotom and keeping it trapped here. Then on our next turn, what we'll be able to do is drop the Darkness energy down onto the Munkidori and go from there. They go Artisan, which actually isn't bad for us because it'll allow us to get out another Articuno. There's the Arven, which will allow them to rare Candy. We'll probably just start placing damage onto the Tinkatonks, or Tinkatonks. We'll see there's the Neo upper energy, so that we know what stadium they're playing, or not stadium, what A-spec they're playing. They go Nest Ball for a Dunsparce, I'm assuming. Yep. We do have the boss's orders, which is kind of nice. We can go Dark Energy here onto the Munkidori. We can grab ourselves another Articuno for later. We can use the Brain and start putting damage counters onto the Tinkaton. And then we can Wild Freeze, keep this locked in the active. Again, for a whole nother turn. And then it only has 50 damage on it, so what we can actually end up doing is we're going to, on our following turn, provide it. Okay, so they are able to switch, which isn't the biggest deal in the world, depending on what we're able to get into, because they can knock us out here. But we can probably just end up, like I said, we can end up going like Palkia here. or we'll just lead Articuno. We get our counter catcher. So we'll place the energy down here, and then what we can end up doing is just going counter catcher, move this back into the active, bring in our Greninja since we don't really need it anymore. Like, we can kind of just let this get KO'd, and then we can pass our turn. There's the rare candy. So we'll see what they go for here. Obviously, they're looking for either another Switch if they do run it, a Tauros if they run it, or the benefit here is that they only play double colorless energy. So if we can force them to have to use one of those to discard, we're like, in order to retreat out the Rotom, we're in a totally fine spot. And if we can get into our Palkia VSTAR, we're able to completely repower our new Articuno. So we're not in a bad spot by any means. There's a Nest Ball for another Tinkaton or a Dunsparce. Alright, so there's a double turbo, forcing them to retreat. Which is nice, since, again, they only have 2 more to work with that are not on the board. We can also boss up the Rotom as well. There is the Palkia VSTAR. And, again, we have the option here, so what we're going to do is we can go Artisan. Grab ourselves a new Articuno. We can go ahead and we're gonna hold the boss's orders for right now. We're gonna Star Portal. 1, 2, 1. And then what we can do is Wild Freeze, making them paralyzed for 1 turn. Meaning they can't retreat, they're going to need a switch, and we have our Munkidoris to start moving damage counters around to kind of be annoying. So it took us a little bit of time, but we're exactly where we need to be pretty much. I wonder if they have a card to reshuffle. Because otherwise they're probably just going to end up decking themselves out. And then when this Articuno gets knocked out, we can always Super Rod the Articuno back in. Like 2 Articunos and an energy. If we really want to. So this will be an Artisan for the Dunsparce. There's Nimona to draw 3. There's their second switch. Which pretty much guarantees they don't have another one, so like I said, we can literally just boss up whatever we want at this point and do the same thing, provided we're able to get into 1 energy. So we go Articuno here. We get a switch of our own. We can Artisan here. That was a mistake. what we should have done is gone for that first. What we're probably going to end up having to do here is give up a couple pieces. So we're going to switch, and we'll give up the Palkia for now. But we're not going to, like, utilize the boss's orders or whatever, since it doesn't really matter. We just need to get into one water energy. Since they're going to be able to retreat out, they can go into the Tinkaton. There's the backup. But again, that doesn't really matter to us. They go Big Hammer for an insane amount of damage, to be fair. But we can just go Articuno. We get into our Earthen Vessel, which is all we really wanted. We get the water energy. Place that down. We can go Artisan. Grab ourselves a new Articuno. Go for the Wild Freeze. And now they shouldn't have another... They shouldn't have another switch. There's Palpad, which again shouldn't really help them. I don't think there's a supporter in their deck that would have been beneficial. They go for the boss's orders, which is fine by us because we can just attach the energy and manually retreat if we want to, which is what we will do. So we can go ahead, and what we'll do first is we'll actually Brain. We'll go ahead and get rid of the damage, to that way we knock out the Rotom. So we take 2 prizes here. There's the Counter Catcher and the Nest Ball. We can go ahead and retreat. Bring back in our Articuno. We'll Artisan here. Bring out another Articuno. Just make it a little bit easier to make sure that we're getting into the energy if they attempt to repeat that same play. Like, if they attempt to go for that boss play again, we just want to make sure that that's not really an efficient option for them. And we're now at the point where we can just start getting KOs. Which, it took us a little bit of time to set up, but we're pretty much here now. Really what we need to do is that they need to... We're waiting for them to, like, remake the Dunsparce. Yeah, so there's the boss's orders play. Obviously, we would have preferred to have them deck out, but that's just not really going to happen in this instance. So we'll probably just go for the Roxanne in order to get ourselves in the energy, retreat out, and they're out of ways to switch. There's a TM Devolution, which is cool. We'll go ahead and Nest Ball. We'll grab ourselves the Bloodmoon Ursaluna for later. Then what we can do from here is we can go ahead and Roxanne. Obviously, it stops them from decking out, which was a game plan, like, was a potential option. But it's not the option we're going to take. But what we can do is go Temple of Sinnoh, help kind of shut down their game plan, reset them. We have the Iono, so we're in a phenomenal position. From here, we can just start kind of throwing damage counters onto their bench. and we kind of have the exact game state that we want. Obviously, we don't love that we're in a position where they just need one more they just need to take one more prize card to win. But we know, based on them having their entire hand in their deck and relying on the bosses, or their entire deck as their hand, but relying on bosses, that they don't have anything they can really do. So that's pretty much totally fine for us. There's the Radiant Greninja. There's the runaway draw. Also, even if they do, like, switch us out again, they still can't actually attack us because of because we have the Temple of Sinnoh down. There's a Neo Upper Energy. The important thing, though, and so this is something to note in terms of, like, how to play this deck efficiently. So, like, right here, we can't actually attack, right? Because then they just come in and knock us out. So what we actually want to do is we want to counter catcher first. Then we can bring in something new. So let's bring this in, since we can trap this for a little while. And then from here, we can go ahead and take the KO with our Munkidori. Get ourselves another 2 prizes. There's another one. And we can brain again with the last 20. Throw that onto this. And then what we can do from here is, honestly, we can just Iono here. Not because we don't care about the cards in our hand. It doesn't really make a difference, but putting them down to 1 is kind of nice. Plus, we just want the boss, which we were able to find. So we keep them trapped again. And we set up a situation where we're going to be able to KO this on our next attack. And we're going to be able to KO this by moving the pieces with Munkidori to kind of close out the game. So if they do not have a way to switch and get a KO on this turn, there's nothing they can do. They are able to find another PAL pad for the boss, but even bossing us will not get them a KO or really help them. So, like, even if they are able to find boss here and they switch us, it literally makes no difference. Which they were able to do. But as long as we find either a single energy or a switch of our own or anything else, we'll be totally fine. So what we can do, what we'll do is that we'll use Munkidori first to remove the Manaphy. Bring us down to 1 more prize. The main reason for this is that potentially the prize may help us. Perfect. So that's exactly why. So now I can place that, retreat, and go do the last 70 damage, get the KO, and close out the game. So a little bit of a comeback there, but it's because we satisfied the win condition that we were looking for, which is it doesn't really matter how many prize cards we lose as long as we're still in the game. If they run out of switches, if they run out of resources, there's nothing they can do anyway. So then we're able to come back and kind of take over the game. So we kept them trapped. We did everything we needed to do, and we satisfied the win condition, which is the most important element of, especially if you're at any deck, but especially if you're playing a control deck, you have to know what it is you're looking to actually control. In this case, it's our opponent's options on rotating their board, like being able to switch, things like that. And so those are the key pieces, and we just have to either wait those out or force scenarios that they have to use them. So, for example, like forcing them to have the energy in order to retreat out the Rotom at the time is more efficient because it just stops them from having another resource and able to use later. So yeah, that's going to be game number 1, guys, and I'll see you in game number 2 in a second. Peace. Alright, we're into game number 2. We are going to mulligan this hand away, which honestly isn't all that bad for us. Also, I think I should address it now, and maybe it's going to lead to like an effect where more people hear it than had I not said something. But in game number 1, my alarm clock randomly started going off in the background, and I think it's quiet enough that you can't really hear it unless you're like actively listening for it. But that being said, I feel like people are gonna hear it anyway. Does that make sense? Or they're gonna hear it now that I'm talking about it, but they probably didn't hear it the first time they were watching game 1. Anyway, point is, I don't really know what the point is, but yeah, we're gonna throw down just a simple energy onto the Articuno. Then what we'll end up doing is going for the Irida in order to get ourselves Palkia and a water energy. That way we can just start attacking. The nice thing here, actually, is that the energy requirements for Raging Bolt is super high. They also only play like 1 switch. So it's actually pretty nice. Okay, this matchup's not bad for us. There's the Earthen Vessel. Like, most of these decks play like 1 Switch Cart, maybe 2. But typically only like 1. I've even seen some lists play none. Wow, that's so sick. Can't believe they gave one of those up. I mean, they're playing hyper aggro in order to like get a knockout here, which is commendable. But we should be okay. So we can lead Articuno here. We get a switch of our own, which is not really that big a deal since we already had that. We can grab our Palkia and our item of choice. What we could do is go Earthen Vessel here. Yeah. So we'll go Palkia. We'll go... Let's spin the Pokestop real quick, because that may make a difference here. And it actually does. So we can go Nest Ball, grab ourselves our Radiant Greninja. We can Earthen Vessel away the Switch Cart. We already have that. We're going to grab ourselves 2 Water Energy. That way we can concealed cards, get rid of one of the Water Energy, draw ourselves 2. And then what we can actually do here is we will attach the Water Energy, we will sack our Greninja, and then what we will do is counter catcher the other Raging Bolt into the active, just to make it a little bit more annoying, force them to kind of spend out a couple cards. Since what we're going to be able to do on our next turn, what we want to be able to do here is force them to have to spend out like the Vitality and things like that in order to... Cool, that Tails is super lucky. Oh, they had Catcher anyway. Oh, they went Palkia. Well, that's potentially okay for us. Probably not, but... Depending on what we get on our top deck, we might actually be okay. Because, like, Palkia is going to get knocked out here, guaranteed. But hypothetically, we can either... If we can get into the water energy, we can paralyze this for a turn and kind of work from there. Oh, they have no switch carts either left. Okay, all we need is Articuno to be able to get an attack off. Like, that's actually all we need. And that makes me feel a lot safer. So we can go concealed cards. We get ourselves the Irida. So we can replace... Alright, we'll go Articuno. And we can go Earthen Vessel. What we'll do is go Articuno, Earthen Vessel away the Ultra Ball to grab 1 and 1. So then what we can do is attach the water energy. We can go Nest Ball to get ourselves out our second Munkidori. We'll spin the Pokestop, see if we get something cool. That's pretty unfortunate. I wanted both of those cards. But whatever. We'll go Wild Freeze. And we should be fine, because this deck typically doesn't run Tauros. It could be running a... Okay, it's not. So I thought that potentially it could be running like a booster capsule. Like an ancient booster capsule to remove the status condition, but that's pretty rare. Typically they just run Bravery Charm. And so this is a situation where, again, they're just running Bravery Charm. Which, yes, it keeps them alive in the active, but like that doesn't really matter. If anything, that's kind of just nice because it gives me time to keep moving damage counters around. There's an Iono, which also helps me. One, because I get more cards to work with, which is nice, but also two, because it eliminates redrawing options for them. So we will draw for turn. We get an Ultra Ball. What I can do here is concealed cards to attempt to get into my dark energies that just got recycled. I will be able to do that. I can get rid of the I can get rid of the Ultra Ball with the Earthen Vessel. Get back both of my dark energies. I can attach the dark energy for this turn. Use Munkidori to start throwing or damage down onto... Throw it onto the Squawkabilly for now, since that's the fastest thing that I'll be able to KO. And then what we'll do is we'll remove the Pokestop, just to get that out of the game. We can Wild Freeze, keeping this trapped again for another turn. Next turn we can manually attach the Dark Energy onto the Munkidori. Well, that works out for me. There's an energy retrieval, though that doesn't really matter. Because I don't think they play Boss's Orders either. Like, most of the Ancient or Roaring Moon decks play, like, maybe one boss, but typically that's about it. So they're probably just going to deck themselves out here. Because they just keep drawing cards. I'm not sure what they're even looking for. because they already used both their Switch Carts. And so, alright, so like this is an example of... That doesn't matter, dude. It's not an ability. So this is an example of something that happens a lot of the time, and it's so like something I want to speak on for a second is what ends up happening a lot of the time is players who play against control get upset in a moment like this where they're like, oh, I can't do anything, like why isn't this working, like I can't play the game, like this is so dumb. But notice that part of the reason why they can't and why like we've kind of satisfied the win condition at this point is the fact that our opponent actively didn't play the game, like didn't play correctly. And what I mean by that is immediately at the beginning of the game, they threw away one of their Switch cards, a pivotal card in order for them to win the game. And then later they did it again. It's like the two cards that you need in order to, like, that would put them in a position that they could potentially win the game, they removed from the game for us. So there's not much we really had to do. So what we can do here is go ahead and start throwing more damage onto the Squawkabilly. And the only thing we really need to do from this point is we can start powering up a new Greninja, or not Greninja, a new Articuno. But really what I want to do is I want to check, I don't need the switch. What I want to do is I want to check how many, okay, so I don't have any boss in my deck, which means what I actually need to take is this counter catcher. So that way next turn, I have the ability that I can take 2 of these KOs. Because right now we're only doing 70 damage, so this thing is gonna survive because it attached its own Bravery Charm. So now what we can actually do on the next turn is the fact that, again, they don't have any switch, they don't have any anything. A crazy sick play they could do would be like to vacuum off their own charm. But again, if we attack into it, it KOs us, or it'll KO it. So we need to make sure that we have a card available, so in this case Prime Catcher, in order to throw that onto the bench, and then we can always knock it out by moving damage counters off onto it later. But we'd be able to pull up like the next Raging Bolt or whatever else we need to in order to get the KO. So like this is an example of our opponent where a lot of people get mad about control decks, specifically things like Snorlax block or whatever, where it's like they're mad they're trapped, but it's like you're losing more often than not. Players who, when you lose to control because you, for lack of better phrasing, like you chose to lose. You didn't play around their win condition at all. Most control decks don't just win the game outright. They need to satisfy a very specific condition in order to win. And so if you don't if you allow them to satisfy it, like of course they're gonna win, right? Control decks don't play like every other deck, like Charizard or Raging Bolt, where it's like, all right, if I play this, I get to attack, and if I attack, I knock something out, so I just win by repeating that same kind of combo loop. It's like control decks need a very specific scenario to happen, right? So like in this case, we need them not to have switch cards, so we're just like playing and focusing around that happening. And it's like that's how control decks need to win. So if you're either not knowledgeable of the matchup of like what the control deck is looking for, or you blatantly choose to not play around the aspect, it's like of course that's going to happen. But yeah, so that's my mini rant. Sorry about that if that was a little long-winded, but I hope it helped some people kind of get a better understanding of like why control is either very good or really bad. And yeah, that's going to be game number 2. I'll see you guys in game number 3 now that my mini rant is over. Peace. Alright, we're into game number 3, and we're going to be going first. We'll see what we get. We are going to mulligan this hand away. though it doesn't really show what we're playing too much, which is kind of nice. It kind of always sucks when you have to do a mulligan and it just like reveals everything about what you're playing. Though our opening hand is not ideal. We just see Squawkabilly from our opponent. There is a Palkia. What we're honestly going to end up doing here, I think, is that we're going to discard the Switch and the energy. Grab ourselves the Palkia. And that way, what we can do, hopefully, on the next turn, is evolve into our Palkia VSTAR, drop the Iono. What is happening? Oh, is it Greninja? Okay. That's fine with us. So, let's see. There's one double colorless down, one rare candy down, one copy of Greninja EX. They're gonna end up double Froakie. Obviously, they can still Squawkabilly. Weird that they went Collapse Stadium right away. Wow, a second rare candy already discarded. There's a Buddy Poffin for 2 Snow Runts. And they pass. Did they just straight up not use Squawk, or did I miss it? So, we're going to go ahead and evolve here. We're going to Iono with the goal. Okay. So that actually works out relatively well. What we can actually do here is we can Ultra Ball, discard 2, get ourselves Greninja, alright, here's the problem. We still need 1 energy if we wanted to use Greninja here, which would be super sick to be able to KO both of these. Like, that would be absolutely fantastic. But unfortunately, it's not going to work on this turn. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to power up our Palkia and our Articuno, and then we can Irida on the next turn to kind of KO whatever we want. The chances of them getting in their last rare candy into Greninja, getting the double colorless, bringing it in, and knocking out everything is pretty low. So we should be fine. Okay, so that went pretty well. The boss is also not the worst. So we'll go Irida here. We can grab ourselves a second Articuno. Though what we'll actually want to do, we can go Earthen Vessel. We're going to look for Munkidori later. Though in actuality, we're going to end up playing... We'll get rid of the Lost Vacuum, because I don't really care about the other cards in this situation. We'll get ourselves... We'll go ahead and discard the Water Energy for now, so that way we can bring this in. We will place our other... Actually, we can leave it. We'll go Wild Freeze here. We'll accept the damage, but we will get the paralyzation off. The lucky helmet is like kind of annoying because they're going to be able to draw multiple cards over and over. But again, they can't retreat, so they're going to have to find the switch. They don't really have anything to do that with at the moment. So not really a big deal for us. And we'll be able to start moving damage counters off to remove the snow runs soon. So we can place this down. We'll go ahead and drop the... What we could actually do here is we can use boss now, pull up the Greninja, since again it can't really do anything to us, and it makes it so even if they find the switch, I want to get rid of the snow runs. That's kind of like the biggest future problem. The main reason why I'm doing it this way is I want to trap this. One, it has the highest HP total, so it allows me to, you know, keep this for as long as possible. But more importantly, what it allows me to do is it will allow me to be in a scenario where, let's say they find their switch card, right? That doesn't really matter because they have nothing to actively switch to. And so now on this upcoming turn, I'll be able to Iono. So there's an Earthen Vessel. There's a Frozen Shard, which again doesn't really matter. We get the water energy, which honestly at this point I'm gonna start powering up a new Articuno. We will Brain to take 30 damage off. Then we'll Iono, and if we find a Stadium card to remove the Collapse, that's fantastic, which, cool, we were able to do. Which is pretty big for us, actually, since what we can do now is Nest Ball to get out another Munkidori. And on the follow-up turn, we can go Earthen Vessel, get another Dark Energy in play, and go from there. So we'll be in a pretty great position. And then also we have the energy already on Articuno, so if they are able to remove it or knock out our active Articuno, we're still fine. The only main thing that's annoying here is that we have to deal with these Frostlass. Because they're gonna be stacking damage onto our Munkidori. And so, like, we're gonna have to switch Articunos kind of around as the game goes on. There's another Snow Run. But we really only have to knock out two, because they're going to be doing all the damage to this Squawkabilly anyway. And we're already getting closer to knocking out the Greninja. So we'll see what they decide to do here. So it looks like they're not playing a switch of any kind at this point, because they would have searched it with the Irida. Which does make things a little bit easier for us. We can Earthen Vessel here. We'll get rid of the Super Rod. Grab ourselves 2 more Dark Energy. And then what we can actually do here is go Irida. We'll grab Palkia just as some discard fodder. And then we'll grab ourselves the Prime Catcher as well for the future. And then we will place down the Dark Energy, moving 30 damage over here, taking one more prize. There's the Water Energy. So next turn we'll be able to just swap our Articunos around, not have to worry about healing this for a turn, giving us another turn to heal our Munkidoris. But for now, we'll place another 30 damage onto the Frostlass. Then we'll drop the damage onto the Greninja again. And so, like, next turn, we'll just heal all the damage off this Munkidori and be totally fine. So there's a new Frostlass. So this is like a situation similar to the last game where our opponent got rid of their Switch cards. Like, them getting rid of, like, their rare candies and, like, their other placement cards is kind of a big deal since, one, it looks like they're already, like I said, not playing a Switch to begin with, which is not the best play. But they were finally able to build into their other Greninja, which is huge for them. Like, they definitely needed that. But it's, like, too little too late. And it actually helps me a lot in the grand scheme of things. Since the main issue I was going to run into is the fact that, like, I can't just continue to attack this one forever. But what I can do is I can play the energy here, go ahead and switch, keeping this safe for now, so that way I can spend a turn moving all the damage counters off this Munkidori, keeping it safe. And getting this one off the field, which again will make sure that my other one does not get KO'd and that it is entirely safe. There's an Iono as well, but I want to keep the counter catcher in hand. So now what I can do is this has 30 health left, and this has 10. That's going to get knocked out on the end of their turn. And I have the Prime Catcher as well to make sure that I will be able to KO this no matter what happens and kind of close out the game. Unless they pick this up with a, like, Professors or something, which they don't have. So they didn't play any Switch cards, which I think is objectively wrong, but that's just kind of list building. So we're going to close out the game there. They weren't going to really have anything that they could have done anyway, so that's going to be game number 3. Hope you guys liked the deck list. Hope you guys enjoyed the content and kind of my explanations on, like, the point and the benefits and shortcomings of, like, stall and control decks and stuff like that. Hopefully you guys found that informative at least a little bit. But yeah, that's going to be game number 3. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, liked any of my anything, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. It really helps out the channel. Like I said, we're getting very close to 1K subs, and that would be super, super cool to be able to do. If you're interested in the community Discord, it will be in the description down below, as well as the deck list for this video. So yeah, thanks guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Peace.